Yes, I'm currently in this Ausberg Leverkusen game. It was a game that I thought would produce some goals. It is in the German Bundesliga after all. And sure enough, a goal was scored. I was setting up the video to show you how I was going to handle that. And of course, another goal was scored. And it looked like it was coming as well, which was why I was trying to get it onto YouTube. But so the situation now is that I didn't really lay off the 1-0 to the extent that I wanted to, and I've got a 2-0 showing a liability with profit on 3-0 and 2-1, and it's kind of where I thought this game would end actually. And there is quite a long time to go, of course, and we'll see how it develops in the second half. So I think my best course of action will probably be to lay off this 2-0. I'm usually very happy to take a big liability on 1-0 because my records over thousands of bets show that I very rarely get stuck on 1-0. In other words, I choose games, or seem to be able to choose games, where 1-0 is not a very likely result, 0-1 on 1-0. So I usually like to hammer that 1-0, but everyone has a different way of doing things. What I generally try and do, I haven't really stuck to it in this game, so it was a different set of circumstances, but I try and look for games where I think there will be goals and the market doesn't, and equally look for games where I don't think there'll be goals and the market does, because then you can get some decent odds on the scores that you're targeting. So anyway, it's not a bad video to get started on. It's not because we're not in a perfect situation, and there's a decision to be made. So I would like to think at best I'll get out with scratch, because I'll either decide to back some of this 0-2 or lay more 0-2, and obviously hope that there aren't any more goals to take me past the scores that I've got money on and profit on, to move into a sort of red territory, beyond those scores. So yeah, as I say, I'll pause it now and come back when I've made a decision. Thanks a lot. So the second half is underway. It's still pretty open, and I'm going to start to lay off a bit of this 2-0. A lot of people get very carried away with stats. I use them, my sort of goal ratings before the game, but after after the first half is over, I'm only interested in watching the second half, and I don't really care what the stats say, because if the game is not looking right, I'll be coming out either way. So it's really just a case, in my view, of always being able to watch the game and forgetting about these bookmaker in-play graphics and things like that. I don't really get a feel for it. So in my view, I'm sure plenty of you out there might disagree, but that's the way I do it. So yeah, I'll be trying to lay off a bit more of this 2-0 if it continues to be the game that it is now. I'll speak to you later. Thanks. Just incidentally, you can actually see here, well, I didn't point it out before, but I could easily come out for a £50 profit now, but firstly, cash out is pretty terrible thing to use, really, because you never get paid out what you should be paid out. And the second reason is that I've sort of, in a sense, I've got value, because and the game is looking like there will be a third goal, so I'm sticking with it. So the game is quite, it's a lot more one-sided now. I say one-sided because Leverkusen are sitting a little bit on their 2-0 lead, and as you would expect, Ausberg trying to get back into the game. However, when Leverkusen do break, they look very, very dangerous, and Ausberg are also looking more dangerous, so I see no reason why I shouldn't keep laying this 2-0. Okay, be back later. Well, we're in the 60th minute now, and the goal that I was expecting to come has come. I didn't quite get the 2-0 laid off, but and it's really an error. I mean, as I said, normally I'd have probably all the liability on 1-0, and the liability can be quite considerable. But as I say, I was setting up the video, missed the opportunity, and 2-0, I'm never as quite as sure about as I am with my 1-0s. So this game is now on this 2-1, where I've got some profit. I wouldn't be betting against another goal. But what I suspect I'll do here is lay off the score to reduce this liability, which really shouldn't be there. So I haven't traded this particularly well, but it is often a problem when I'm doing videos and trying to chat at the same time. So I'll and watch the match. So I'll be back shortly. Yeah, so the exchange gremlins are still in the works. It's been a sort of on and off suspension this game the whole time. So let's just hope it comes back quickly and we can take some action. So, as luck or bad luck would have it, this market has been suspended for a long time, well, relatively long time, and of course, needless to say, the another goal was scored. So there was no time to lay off this 2-1, and it's not a bad lesson because it just shows you how, if you don't kind of get rid of your liabilities early, which 95% of the time I do manage to do, you can get stuck on the other side of the of your scores, as it were, where you get hit with albeit a small liability on a score that you didn't cover. So you'll just have to take my word for it that I did get in for a couple of bets that I wanted to lay off, but I would have definitely been scratched because there were bets sitting in the market that just couldn't get matched because the market was down. So it's just a bit of bad luck there. But yeah, so that was that. And as I say, I would have carried on this 2-1 and made a decision as to whether or not under normal circumstances, whether I'd be laying that off or sticking with it for a while. So unfortunately, in this situation, I didn't have a choice. But I hope it's been relatively useful, and we'll definitely have some videos up shortly that show some decent profit, as this probably should have been. Okay, thanks.